Thank you so much for having me here. I'm honored to be here, and I'm looking forward to hiking with some of you and having some time to explore the rest of the day together. And as Kathy said in the introduction, and thank you, Kathy, I come to you from Leadership Public Schools, and to talk about the potential of open education resources for transforming urban high schools. We're 4 urban high schools in Richmond, Oakland, Hayward, and San Jose in the Bay Area. And we serve approximately 1,500 students. Our schools range from 58 to 93% free and reduced lunch, and 85% of our students will be the first in their family to go to college. The majority of our students enter 9th grade at the elementary school level and come in with severe deficits both in literacy and math. So this gives you a statistical understanding of our students, but I'd like to talk about what this means in terms of student reality. So first, our students have to catch up at least 2 years academically for each school year they're with us. This means that we have no choice except to teach college prep courses and content literacy simultaneously. Naturally, content math also. They're missing basic skills in both areas. This is impossible without the adaptive power of technology. Second, our students must believe that they can make these leaps and that there is a reason for them to make the sacrifice that this entails. We believe that technology can empower them and make them masters of their own destiny and producers in the 21st century economy. And finally, for so many of our students, motivation and academic catch-up are simply not enough to guarantee success in college. The economic and social reality of their lives will continue to throw roadblocks in their path to success. We are convinced that technology can provide us mechanisms to be real about providing life-changing opportunities for our students. And you will note that I've used technology as a key to addressing each of our student challenges. However, traditional technology products do not necessarily address our organizational challenges. First, we have very limited resources and huge needs. One-to-one laptops, fancy integrated data systems, and full-service online courses are simply beyond our price range. Similarly, off-the-shelf solutions that require extensive professional development over time are not realistic in a climate of high teacher turnover, whether that's because of burnout, because of our challenging context, or because of the kind of career paths that Teach for America type teachers bring to education. Similarly, in a challenging climate with ever-changing needs and passionate, innovative teachers, top-down, preset materials, no matter how good, will have limited resonance. For these reasons, the technology solutions we are developing are deliberately open source, low-tech leverages of high-tech solutions. Let me be specific about the path that we've embarked on, our LPS vision. It involves numerous, continually evolving, innovative technologies, plus intense teacher relationships to make our students ready for college success. So first, in order to get 2-for-1 gains, we're teaching literacy and content concurrently. High school is simply too late to first teach reading and then teach biology. That is not a realistic scenario for our students. This is what led me to a conversation with Niwu Koslaw about 1.5 years ago and my discovery of the CK12 Foundation. The CK12 Foundation produces free open source online textbooks that are easily editable. So rather than purchasing textbooks that most kids couldn't read, we formed a partnership with CK12 to produce something that we call college access readers. These are online books that have embedded literacy supports. So most students access the materials through hard copy workbooks that are just printed out as handouts. and they have embedded in them vocabulary and comprehension supports. Teachers also use the materials with an LCD projector, either to access the online videos and simulations or to provide direct instruction in content literacy, because our students have to have literacy instruction, not 1 period a day in English, but 5 periods a day in all of their content. Advanced students use the online CK12 original, and our lowest performing students access materials with text-to-speech and Spanish translation and sometimes Spanish text-to-speech. And even within the lowest tiered application, we found that we have to have multiple tiers of accommodation to address the full special ed continuum. So this is the reality of differentiation that we as educational leaders are continually exonerating our teachers to employ. I was a professor of education for 8 years. I taught secondary content literacy. I told my teachers, so you need to have graphic organizers, you need to bring in realia, you need to do all of these different things. To do that on a daily level is simply too hard to accommodate all of the range of students that you need. You know, you're visually impaired, you're ADD, you're, you know, 3rd grade level readers. It's simply too hard, and people like me have been unrealistic in what we laid out for teachers to do. And in my 35 plus years as an educator, when I first became connected with CK12, it was the first time that I saw a realistic, cost-effective, scalable way to provide differentiation for true access to college prep content for struggling readers. Because of CK12, this year we've been able to create college access readers in algebra, geometry, and biology. We're starting tomorrow with, and this is actually literally tomorrow, with Algebra 2, Physics, and Chemistry. And they will be ready one way or another by August. But as I mentioned before, unless students buy in to catch up, the 2-for-1 gains we're asking of them won't happen. So again, we're using technology, this time to put immediate data in the hands of students, both informing and empowering them. At our Oakland campus, the number of students passing the California high school exit exam on their first try last year went from 33% to 62%, primarily from individual students understanding their data, setting goals, and identifying the supports they needed to reach their goals. We have also seen phenomenal results from students getting just-in-time data using audience response technology, or more commonly called clickers. Now we're taking both of these solutions into the open source arena. Our intention is to move our highly effective but low-tech FileMaker Pro data system onto the web into an open source format. It will be available to others to use and improve. And by developing proprietary reporting modules, it could also be a source of potential revenue for us. More immediately, tomorrow, we will begin creating an open source version of the very successful but expensive clickers. While the commercial versions have provided great results, at $400 to $1,200 per classroom, they're too expensive for us to use at scale, and they have a limited range of functionality. At our professional development day tomorrow, our math and science teachers will design quizzes and exercises tailored to each subject, and that are designed to maximize the just-in-time features of clickers. Then we will be building an online app with these features and linking these to the CK12 readers to provide immediate response opportunities. And to ensure access and control, classroom management, instead of students using their personal phones, we will be using recycled last generation smartphones and via Wi-Fi but without a data plan. And our Smartphones for Smart Kids campaign will be launched early this summer. These are a few of the technology products that we have been developing to provide access, acceleration, and ownership for our students. And I'm sure you've noticed some common threads. they're open source, they're low cost, and they're low tech implementations of high tech. In fact, much of what we're doing has more in common with successful strategies in the developing world than with typical American solutions filled with bells and whistles. But I think that this makes sense because in reality, America's inner cities are our third world countries. Great is the potential for each of these open source products. To me, none of them per se represents the real power of open source. The real power is the synergy that open source makes possible. We call this collaborative innovation. And we believe that it represents the true transformative potential of the open source movement. Let me give you an example. 2 years ago, we embedded our math specialist in our Hayward campus, which is our highest performing school. He had developed an online math program for Algebra 1 that had a backfill component of basic skills, going down to the addition and subtraction level. He built this out at Hayward, and our algebra achievement doubled. At the same time, our Oakland campus was using literacy in math and was getting some good results from that. So what we did is, first, we gave the online algebra course to CK12 to refine the format, build it out, and make available open source. Then we took the strategies we'd been using in Oakland and started embedding them in the CK12 algebra materials to create a college access reader that we linked with the online program. This year, we've used both of those in tandem across our schools, and at our Richmond school, they then started using clickers in combination with the readers and the online program. The Richmond results, we've had 3 benchmark exams which are aligned with our, portions of it are aligned with our California state test. Last year, Richmond had 26% of students at or above grade level in algebra. Our 3 benchmark exams were 84%, 92%, 93%. So this is now, they are outperforming Hayward. They are 93% poverty. Hayward is 58% poverty. They're outperforming Hayward, triple last year's performance, 4 times the performance of their neighboring school. Well, actually, all their neighboring schools in the whole of Richmond. And this is in one of the highest crime, highest poverty communities in California, Richmond's Iron Triangle. This amazing systems turnaround was the result of the rapid cycle development process that was made possible by open source resources. However, these gains are not enough. As I said in the beginning, graduating high school is only step 1 to college. Let me tell you another Oakland story so you can understand why. In December, 4 Oakland seniors with GPAs above 3.5 were ready to drop out. And the valedictorians for the last 2 years are not in college, even though they had full ride scholarships. One of these seniors that was going to drop out works full-time on the night shift at Kentucky Fried Chicken. One night in December, the principal took his mother to visit him on the job to try to convince him to stay in school. He pulled her outside and said, "Ms. Haynes, you don't understand. My mother already works 2 jobs. She can't make it without me." In each of these students' cases, the reasons are economic. In each case, the student is a major and sometimes the only breadwinner in their family. And the opportunity costs of going to college simply outweigh distant future gains. Great open source products or development processes may change the academic realities for our students, but they do not directly address the economic realities. So again, we're turning to technology, this time engaging students as producers of technology, not simply consumers. Our job is to convince the student working at KFC that struggling through college will ultimately pay off more than his current job. We have to understand that for large numbers of our students, they're not going to experience the college many of us remember with dorms, parties, and late night discussions. The economic and personal challenges of their families will remain with them, and they will face numerous academic and cultural hurdles. To persevere and overcome these barriers, they need to see themselves as part of the 21st century economy with all its opportunities, not simply as stepping into the economy of their experience and their neighborhoods. That is why we're establishing tech innovation labs, where students will be able to produce English and Spanish videos, apps, and other digital products to embed in our CK12 Flexbooks. Again, the open source nature of CK12 allows us to involve students as well as teachers in the continual evolvement of these materials, providing an authentic purpose and audience and a reason to learn 21st century skills. These same labs will be used to help students develop e-commerce businesses, providing on-the-job training and sustainable funding for student activities. And we started our first t-shirt business this week, t-shirt design, which is also producing uniforms because a problem, this is at Oakland, a problem with our uniform program is many of our kids have only one uniform and do not have washers and dryers in their home. Our producing, not only will it involve students in e-commerce, but we intend to provide at least 2 uniforms to all of our students so that they will be able to be in uniform all week. To leverage the developing interest in business and technology and address the many barriers our students face in transitioning to college, we've just started an online community college in Oakland using our technology and facilities after school and in the evening and adding in mentoring and tutoring. Our alumni already come back to their old teachers for assistance because we are their college support web. We will simply leverage that to take them through any remedial courses in at least their first full year of college credit. Simply successfully completing a full freshman year increases the graduation rates of first-generation low-income students from approximately 9% to 60%. Our first 4 alumni began online courses 3 weeks ago, and we're offering our first full class beginning April 18th. And it's our hope that down the line, we'll be developing open course materials for these courses. Now, you may have noticed how I mentioned different aspects of our technology vision being led by different schools. This is collaborative innovation taken to a systems level. Change is hard, and no one school could take on all the innovations we're envisioning and that our students need. That is one of the reasons that school reform has been so difficult. The timeline for reform is simply longer than the shelf life of the reformers. And so vision never makes it to reality. However, we're strategically leveraging the strengths and needs of the 4 LPS schools to distribute the pain of early adoption. Then, using the power of collaboration, as we are doing in algebra, we're rapidly being able to build, refine, and replicate. So I've shared numerous examples of how we're using open source and course educational resources to transform both our schools and the lives of our students. In a moment, I will open this up for questions. However, first, let me pull it all together and underscore what I see as the genius of Neeru Khosla and Murugan Paul in creating CK12, and by extension, the genius that all of you have, and the power that I believe is inherent in the open source movement. On the most basic level, Neeru and Murugan created a disruptive product, free online textbooks. That's important. However, by developing a platform that not only facilitates but actually invites customization, they have allowed others to create infinite numbers of tailored textbooks, like our college access readers. Because of the editable format, these readers can have multiple levels of differentiation, addressing the previously unsupportable needs of access and acceleration that are core to educational equity. Because of CK12's online distribution, the best of these second-generation Flexbooks can themselves inspire adaptation. This is resource customization gone viral, and it's free. As powerful as the CK12 generated products are, it is the power of the process of flexing that is most transformative for the adults in the school system. At a systems level, districts and charter networks are charged fundamentally with ensuring students' equity of access across teachers, across schools, and across time. We all know of schools, particularly urban schools, where there's a stellar teacher next door to a class in chaos, or where a star 1 year leaves with a bag of resources and is replaced by a newbie with nothing the next year. We also know of the consistent frustration where high-quality educational products produce excellent results at one school and have limited impact at another due to failure of buy-in and implementation. The answers to these conundrums have been professional development and accountability. I submit that far greater consistency can be achieved through involvement in innovation. When we create our college access readers, we bring the course teachers from all of the 4 schools together. They start with the California content standards, Conley's college readiness standards, state testing blueprint, and of course their own experience. And then they take all of this and they line out a scope and sequence. Then they take and flex the CK12 materials to that structure. That only takes a few minutes. Then the work really begins. We give them a short overview of the most powerful content literacy strategies and what we want to do with vocabulary and comprehension. They then go through these rearranged CK12 materials and they circle the vocabulary that they think is most important to support. They note the content that the students have to know. They notate areas where the vocabulary isn't that important, so it can be rewritten to be more accessible, and the things that can be taken out in order to provide room for literacy support. So after they do that, it then goes to the person who does the actual editing. And that's someone with a literacy and a content background. The person does the editing, and with the completion of each chapter, there's a webinar. And the teachers go through it and make their final suggestions for editing before it's posted. And the teachers see this as an empowering, pragmatic activity that allows them to develop materials tailored to their students' needs. But as you can see, this is actually embedded professional development, content literacy development and implementation professional development. And after we've created and posted our final version, then it's still editable, so the teachers can then go further and edit their own version. And what this does, what we found is our most experienced teachers do that, our new teachers don't. And so we've also then provided a differentiated level of support for our teachers on the range from experienced to brand new, all through this same process, which is another big challenge if you're at a school or in a district. And then to capture the lessons learned and the tailoring that's gone on, we also incorporate a cycle of teacher interviews. From these, we're able to identify the practices to share across the network, like the student packets the Richmond algebra teacher will be sharing tomorrow. This not only accelerates improvement, but also provides authentic validation for high-performing teachers. The sharing would be much less effective if it were not so easy to incorporate into the CK12 materials, or if the teachers were not working off a common set of resources. Similarly, we would not be able to move into new arenas without this common curricular spine. For instance, tomorrow the biology teachers are identifying simulations, virtual labs, and that they can incorporate into the biology college access readers. and then other in-place labs that they can link to it. So just as CK12 product made it possible to do the virtually undoable, which is ultimate differentiation, the process makes it possible to address the ultimate conundrum of teacher support, reconciling autonomy and consistency, equity and flexibility. So I think you can understand why I see this as the hidden power of flexing and why I think it's so transformative. And then when you throw in the potential to engage students as producers of content, you take it to a whole new level. When our students know that the Khan Academy style videos they're making this year will be resources for students next year, this is incredibly empowering. When they learn that what they make may be viewed by students in Lagos, Nigeria, where schools are looking at using our readers, it's completely mind-blowing. As you move through your sessions today and tomorrow, I suggest you think of the power of open source educational resources on at least 3 levels. First, free innovative products. Second, empowering processes. And third, the opportunity to transform how students experience education as producers of their own educational content. And know that what you are envisioning can impact the future. So after questions, I invite you, if you are interested, I have some flyers of, we have actually 6 open source content products now, and there's a stack of the flyers about them. They are online at CK12, and this is a sampler from each of the 6 resources in case anyone wants to look at that. And thank you so much. I invite your questions.
Thank you so much, Louise. That was fantastic. I'm curious if you could speak to teacher buy-in and what you've experienced with, you spoke a little bit about new teachers and more experienced teachers, but is everyone, are all your teachers participating in this? Is it optional? How do you get them excited about it?
Well, you have a couple of questions in there. So first, not all, because we only have 3 subjects that we've done, and we're starting the next 3. And I believe very much in the demand pull strategy of change. I think you get much faster from demand pull, so it's optional. However, so for instance, with that algebra work, initially, like the online program, we had a bunch of people grousing. When we got the Hayward results, then more people started looking at it. When as the results kept increasing, the reason for the packet presentation on algebra tomorrow is because the other teachers go, okay, so we need to see how he's taking the reader, integrating it with the clickers, and exactly what he's doing. So the other teachers asked for that tomorrow. And that's demand pull. We have differing levels of implementation, and one of the things, and I had to explain this to a board member who wanted to bring some people for a tour, and they wanted to see the technology. And they wanted to go to a school and said, okay, you're not going to go in and see wall-to-wall computers. That's not the kind of thing. Plus, if we go to Richmond, you're going to see really good use of data of the Flex Math Online, of the math program, and of special ed. But if you want to see really good implementation of the tech innovation and the biology and the text-to-speech and Spanish translation, you need to go to Oakland. And if you want to see, and so different schools are taking the lead. Heavy initial content development at Hayward because they're the most stable and the highest performing in terms of their overall curriculum. And by not demanding implementation, but by also every chapter, we have phone conferences with all teachers with feedback, what went well, what didn't go well, how do you want to modify it. We do this rapid cycle, and even ones, they're struggling in math because our kids are so low in math, they're also low in literacy. Do you take time for math to incorporate literacy? And we haven't fully mastered the line between this, but the teachers are still on board about struggling with it because they're part of this process. And they'll say, you know, we haven't gotten it exactly right yet, but we need to keep on working and let's work this summer. Yes?
Louise, absolutely fantastic and inspiring. I especially liked how you talk about the combination of literacy and STEM, and also that what you're doing really is similar to what's happening in emerging countries. So I'm curious, Jim Vanitas from HP Office of Global Social Innovation. Are you involved in any partnerships in Africa and India, and if not, would you like to be?
Well, of course, and maybe, well, no, I mean, maybe and of course. So we have a board member who is from Nigeria and does a lot of education, planning, and work in Nigeria, and particularly, and I'm blanking on the name of the state that Lagos is in. And so he's the one that's taking some of our readers to Nigeria. Also, CK12 is working with India, and some of the materials that we've been developing in partnership with them are starting to be used in India. And it was interesting, Muchu Fagbai, who's our board member, said, you know, this makes complete sense. What we have is we have high school students with low previous schooling for whom English is not the primary language, but it's the language of instruction, and we don't have much money. Like, this is kind of no duh. And so we would love to partner in terms of if it's of use to anybody, if we can learn anything. We would like to learn on the mobile technology. We think that our free use of mobile technology can maybe get around the fact that we can't afford one-to-one laptops, but we're at the early phases with that, so we can talk.
Hi, that was fantastic. Vijay Kumar from MIT. I was struck by your comment about, one of the principles about looking at low-cost versions of high-tech solutions or something like that. What do you do because those are not just in devices and hardware, there's lots of good materials that have been developed, which with a lot of investment. Yeah. What is there a process for locating those and bringing them into this engagement process?
That's actually what we're just starting. I keep saying tomorrow. Well, I was preparing for today and tomorrow at the same time. And our first reason for working with CK12 was for access. So our first cut through of materials was how do we scaffold it, because what we know from the research is one of the deal breakers for kids making it through their freshman year of college is can they independently use expository text? And our kids can't. So that was our first line. Our next one that we're just starting in our summer project for the ones that we've developed is to better integrate the resources, the other resources that CK12 has, and then move to things like the MIT resources to scan the inner cyber, whatever, find out what they are and bring them in. And I'm hoping to get some clues from this and some people here of where to look for that. We're so incredibly thinly resourced, so our curricular staff is me and a reading specialist. And then a few people on some contracts that are doing the editing. So we haven't had time to do that in a very profound way, but that's what we want to have teachers do this summer. So any of you who have thoughts of things we could integrate into that, catch me or email me or give me a card with something on the back of it, because that's my motivation for coming today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cable Green. I'm at the Washington State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. I was intrigued when you were talking about matching or teaching literacy at the same time that you were teaching content. And I'm wondering if you're familiar with our IBEST model that we have in Washington. Okay, we should talk because it's that model. Okay. And so the question is, are you working with community colleges at all? Because they face a lot of the same challenges that you face. And I think you're matching literacy with teaching content and then matching that to the OER space is a very powerful combination that I'd like to explore further.
Okay, and we just formed a partnership with a community college, and this partnership at this point is just to bring those resources because of the persistence problem we have from graduation to actually making it through first year of college. So we haven't started exploring any kind of collaboration on a course level. That might be down the road, but you might be able to help us identify some ways to do that more effectively.
Sure, you might want to, we should get together. And IBEST it's an acronym. It stands for Integrated Basic Education and Skills Training. And what we're doing is exactly what you said. We're bringing in folks where English is not their first language, and they're learning workforce skills, they're in apprenticeships, they're learning the content at the same time they're learning English. And we put both a literacy instructor, an English instructor, and the content instructor in the same classroom, sometimes online, sometimes hybrid, sometimes face-to-face. And what we get for marginal increased investments is about 0.9 plus outcomes from these folks, and they're accelerating extremely fast. So we should talk.
Thank you.
Yes, could you speak to the issue of the cost per student, and if you imagine this in a developing country, how much of that cost is inherent in the program and how much would be a variable cost depending upon teacher salaries and so forth? Starting out, just what's the cost per student of this program?
Well, that's really hard to say because that would mean kind of knowing what this program is. And the boundaries are kind of amorphous. In terms of the college access readers, they're free with the literacy materials embedded in them. And then it's a matter of how you access them. Because with the literacy materials, we've found that for the students that need that support, having them like as workbooks that they can annotate, that they can answer the questions, that's been effective. That means printing them out. It's a lot cheaper than a textbook. We don't do it bound, we just do it, and we don't do it in color. If you don't access it that way, and you have a technology infrastructure that you can access it online, you don't have the printing costs, but then you can't write in them. We're doing a very low-cost text-to-speech system, but it's still one of the things we've talked about with CK12, and maybe some of you may know a good open source version of text-to-speech that's also in Spanish. That could be free. So it really depends. You can access it in a bunch of different ways, so it depends how you access it. The basic materials are free. But I think the power comes in having your teachers work with it, and so then it depends on time and compensation and whatever for the teachers. So it's pretty variable. We feel we get a big bang for the buck we pay $30 an hour for professional development, and so we have 1-hour webinars. We feel we get a lot of bang for the buck out of our 4 biology teachers, $120 for 1 hour. That's pretty good, pretty cost-effective professional development.
No, I love what you're doing. This is great. And it's funny seeing all this happening in San Francisco. 2 organizations that I was visiting with that you might like to connect with. One is the Code for America project. I don't know if you've heard Code for America, sort of like Teach for America, but for geeks.
And I need low-cost geeks. That's good.
Yeah. Well, they're developing open source educational software just south of Market. They're some of the brightest ed tech geeks I know.
Ooh, okay.
And the other one is 826 Valencia. You have an amazing curriculum, but you still always need people to deploy it. And in terms of the one-on-one mentorship aspect, they're some of the best. And the third thing I wanted to ask is whether or not, in terms of the development of content, you said you were empowering your students to create content that others would use, for next year and even in other countries, whether or not your model affords to sort of pay these students for the valuable work that they're doing. In a sense, the generative, curriculum development they need work rather than work at a Kentucky Fried Chicken to be peer-to-peer instructors or content creators, sort of taking the best and brightest and rewarding them not with paying them to go to school, but paying them to be teachers themselves. I wonder if you've ever weighed that all.
We've thought about it. We're in too much of the early stage. Right now, we're looking at it being like part of a final exam or a project is you create a little video, kind of Khan Academy style, and then the best of those, we have a repository, so we have a lot of teen pregnancy, so if someone's out on teen pregnancy, if they've missed, if they've done whatever, they can go for tutoring to this bank of student-made supports. We might look at something like that down the road. We're looking at that more in terms of our e-commerce businesses, of forming a cooperative, having shares, and then students splitting the money between the school for student activities and the kids who contribute for having shares, because then we have a lot of undocumented students. Then they can get shares, but they can't get paychecks.
I'd like you to join in a round of applause for the Student Summit.